Welcome back to Geek News Now Live. Geek News Now Live are the live streams that we do where we talk about all the geek news stuff that's happening or just geek stuff. For instance, today we're talking all about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Everything we've gotten so far, maybe if we have time at the end, some stuff that's coming in the future. But for now, this is just kind of a retrospective, going around and talking about things we love from one of our absolute favorite movie franchises. I think that's the way most of us feel in here. Anyway, I'm Chris. As usual, I host most of these, but why don't we hear from the rest of the panel that we've got here today, starting over with Debbie.
Hey, I'm with the Geek News Now social media team, and all the content you see on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter comes from our team. So be sure to like, share, especially the YouTube channel, and subscribe. We'd appreciate it, and we love all of our fans.
David.
My name is David. I've just been named the head of the Literary Legion for GNN. Big promotion for me. We're the ones that write all the articles, put this cool stuff on the website, just keep you up to date with all your news needs. So head on over there, check out our authors. They put out some good stuff every week.
Absolutely. We've got a great website, geeknewsnow.net. Got to go there. Got to be checking it out. They've got great articles. That's my number one place to go because, again, at geeknewsnow.net, we're more about the truth than clickbait. We're more interested in actual factual news than just nonsense. Now, today we're obviously just talking about our opinions, our favorite things, but if you go to the website, news dedicated, geeknewsnow.net. It's a .net. I mean, come on. It's more trustworthy than a .com.
Absolutely.
Continuing with the introductions on our panel today, Jonathan.
Hey, guys. I am one of the newest members of the Geek News Now team. I host the newest podcast on the Geek News Now podcast hub, Captain's Logs and Lightsabers. I host it with my friend Chris. We talk both Star Wars and Star Trek in the same podcast. So if you like one, if you like both, give it a listen. You can find us on the Geek News Now podcast hub, or you can reach out to us on Twitter at Logs and Light Pod.
And you can find all of the various things from Geek News Now, whether it be podcasts or YouTube or Instagram or Twitter. You can find us all on Facebook or by searching on any of those social media accounts. Just search Geek News Now, and we're going to be popping right up. But our last and not least today, Cam.
How's it going, everybody? Cam of Cam and Focus here. I run the show where I talk about film, dive into geeky topics that help to enhance the viewing experience. And if you haven't seen it already, head to our YouTube channel and watch my Scott Pilgrim video, and where I explore the alternate ending and see how it affects the story at large. I bumped up my schedule to 2 videos per month, and I'll be putting them out on the 15th of every month and the last day of every month, whatever day that happens to fall on. So look forward to more content coming.
We absolutely do. Cam has a bunch of great Cam and Focus videos. The one before Scott Pilgrim was on Alien. He did a bunch of Star Wars ones before that, which I really enjoyed. And I can say this as a sequel trilogy, not a fan of those. I watched his videos and I got, hey, that's fine. We don't need to do that. I'm just saying I'm not a fan.
No, that was me. That was for me.
I watched his videos and I came away with a little bit more appreciation for them. Will I say I'm a fan now? No. His videos did not turn me into a fan. I would never claim such a thing. That would be crazy. But I did gain more appreciation for them, and it gave me some new insights. So I definitely say check out the Cam and Focus. We've got a bunch of different playlists on there. So like you got the Cam and Focus playlist, we got trailers, we got all different kinds of stuff on our YouTube page. Don't miss out. Now, right before we get to talk about Marvel, which I swear to God we're going to do, I just want to let you all know that we're starting our first ever contest. We're starting our first ever giveaways. If you want to be involved, you've got to be. Now, the first one we're sharing everywhere. But if you want to be involved in future contests, if you want to be involved in future giveaways, look at the banner at the bottom of the screen right now. Not this one. this one, and then you'll be able to search for the GNN Greats. That's how you're going to be able to find the information for contests, get involved. You're going to be part of the most exclusive part of GNN, and you're going to be able to get involved in the contests and giveaways, which we just started this month. So don't miss out. They're only going to be getting even better. Without any further ado, let's talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, Cam, I know you've got to go a little bit early, so I'm just going to throw it down to you. What is your favorite bit out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? A giant canvas, but there you go. I'm going to throw that right at you.
Yeah, I've certainly got quite a lot to choose from. I got to be honest. My introduction to the MCU was the Avengers. Back in 2012, I went and I saw that movie in theaters, and while I thought it was fantastic, I didn't catch the films that came before it, so I didn't quite have that background knowledge. I just thought it was a fun superhero movie. But my actual real introduction to the MCU that got me to dive right in and really explore and dig deep in the franchise was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And to this day, it is still my absolute favorite MCU film. I feel like they really, I wouldn't necessarily say they broke the mold with that film, but I feel like they went into territory that a lot of superhero, these overblown, comic book films don't really go into. And a lot of my favorite moments do come from that movie, like the highway fight between Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I mean, at this point, it's iconic. It's absolutely iconic the way that it was shot and edited together, very fast paced and very breakneck.
If I can just break in for a second,
Sure.
the director of that fight scene, that's who they started using across the board
Yeah.
for all of their fight scenes. A, for continuity, and B, because like you just said, that is a standout fight. I remember seeing in the trailer, they showed a piece of him fighting Winter Soldier in the street with the knife thing. And I was like, what? It was amazing. And then you see the whole thing. Absolutely. So continue. Sorry to.
Yeah, no problem. But I think that honestly, my absolute favorite moment from that film is Captain America being the one-man army on the Lemurian Star at the beginning of the film. Him just running across the deck of the ship, just taking out these people. And that right there is what I want to see in Captain America. I don't know if any of you had ever seen the I think it was the 1991 or 1992 Captain America film.
Matt Salinger, yeah.
Oh God, I'm so glad that comic book films didn't continue to go in that direction because that's not Captain America. Captain America is a fighter. He's a leader. He's charismatic, and that's everything that film was not. So yeah, Captain America: The Winter Soldier has a lot of my favorite moments. I'd say that a few more would definitely come from Infinity War and Endgame, because those two movies, the sum of those movies are greater than the sum of their parts, especially whenever you put them together, and it's like a 6-hour long just experience. And I think one of the main things from Endgame that made me cheer in my seat whenever I saw it on premiere night was what was the introduction of Clint Barton as Ronan. Yeah, I was so excited to see Ronan come to life in a live action film, and to have that entire scene from beginning to end all shot in one continuous long shot, and he faces off against Hiroyuki Sanada, who's otherwise known as the Twilight Samurai. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. Fantastic samurai film. If you've never seen it, highly recommend it. But I mean, this marks twice now that he's been killed in a Marvel film. So I mean, there's that. But I think that was a completely just standout gem of a scene in that film. Not that that film was lacking in standout scenes, but that one really sticks out to me as one that really opens up the door to something greater, because now I want more Ronin. I need more Ronin. And now that we're getting the Hawkeye series coming up, I feel like we're going to get that, and I'm so stoked for it. And that's something the MCU does extremely well. Is it gives you good material, and that good material makes you want more, and it makes you excited for more, and it sets up more. And I've completely just lost my train of thought right now. I'm having the worst brain fart. It's been a long day.
No, it's totally cool. Well, for those of you that don't know, Cam as well as Debbie are both working on the front lines getting those COVID vaccines out to the people that need them. So we're talking about Marvel Cinematic Universe heroes. Let's give a quick round of applause to the heroes in the room right now. We very much appreciate what you guys are both doing. And Cam, that's why one of the reasons I let you go first was because I know you had a rough day doing all that, so you got to get out here earlier. Totally understand.
Sure.
Within that light, we're going to let Debbie go next, but does anyone have anything to say first off of what Cam just put out? And he did mention a couple different things there, so feel free to talk about any of it, be it Captain America Winter Soldier or Infinity War Endgame. I mean, you're all welcome to get into it on your own too, so keep that in mind. But if anyone has anything to say just with what he just said.
I will say this. When I started watching the movies back in 2008 when the first Iron Man dropped, and I saw them all in order as they were released, and then I saw the Avengers, and when Captain America the Winter Soldier came out, and I walked out of that movie, I was like, where was this Captain America through all of the rest of those movies? Because he was just, he was all over the place. The fights were amazing. The way he carried himself, the action was good. In the first Avenger and the Avengers movie, in the Avengers movie, I was looking at it going, well, he's not really doing anything. He's crowd control. But then you get to the Winter Soldier, and man, the fight in the elevator, favorite thing ever. Oh, so good, so good. And there was reminiscence of that when you rolled into Endgame too, and they go back to New York, and they're all in the elevator again, and it's like, oh, I was so ready for another one right there. But
absolutely. And do you remember after Nick Fury got shot and Captain America's running through the apartment complex chasing down Bucky? He's like slamming through doors, and his shield's like putting holes in walls, and he's jumping over stuff like that scene right there perfectly encapsulates, like the power of Captain America. And that's something you didn't really get much of in the Avengers film. You see him, lift up a punching bag with one hand, but that was just kind of played for laughs for the most part. And like what Winter Soldier gave us Captain America as Captain America is supposed to be. And I definitely thank the Russo brothers for really coming in and giving us that good, gritty film that the MCU really needed.
Yeah, I want to pop in here and I kind of build on what you said, Cam. Each of the Captain America movies kind of is its own thing. You've got the original one, which is a period piece, in World War II. Then you've got the political intrigue of the Winter Soldier, and just the moment where it's revealed that Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and taken over.
Definitely.
And then of course you've just got the superhero versus superhero battles of Civil War, which is everything that it all been building up to that ever since the end of the Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I want to click into our comments real fast. We got Matt saying Winter Soldier is his favorite too. So absolutely. I think that's a lot of people's favorite. Again, the fight choreography in that was so good that they said we need this standardized across the board. Again, that's one of the things with the MCU. One of the reasons it's recognized is because of the interconnectedness. When you go and see one movie, it reminds you of the other movies literally because they're using the same color palettes, they're using the same stunt coordinator, they're using the same, so many things are set so that they don't mess this kind of stuff up. So Winter Soldier also, though, took that fight to a whole new level because we're used to explosions. They were getting carried away with CGI, just being able to do whatever they want to do with that, which, again, was kind of necessary for the superhero genre. There's a reason that it went Spider-Man, then Nolan's Batman, then Iron Man to launch the MCU. But I think the Winter Soldier definitely like took them to a new level in that fight choreography.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's something else that Winter Soldier did really well too. Something that that Jonathan brought up is the political intrigue. Something that I kind of feel like got the ball rolling as far as character ambiguity is showing that in the Winter Soldier you have Shield and you have Hydra, but they're both kind of one and the same at that point. The heroes and the villains are both kind of cut from the same cloth, and I really appreciate that they did that because that's kind of what starts Captain America on his character arc throughout the rest of the MCU. You know, he knows right from wrong, but he doesn't necessarily always know if someone else is right or wrong.
Can you trust this person? And that's why a lot of in Winter Soldier, a lot of that is him talking to Black Widow. And he said he wants a friend, and she says you might be in the wrong business because again, Winter Soldier is almost more of a spy thriller than a pure superhero movie. It's a superhero movie because that's Captain America, but most of the major things of it are like, what are they breaking onto a ship and like do it? It's basically he is a spy in this movie. For the most part, it's a spy thriller, but he's a superhero too. So you do have that fight in the streets where everything goes down. But again, most of the action, covert operation on a ship, covert operation to try and assassinate Nick Fury, one street battle, and then the covert operation, which turned into a cluster F, which was the Shield center. So, you know, and I do want to say we had another comment. Russo changed the MCU for the better. Now, if you know much about the Russo brothers, they were back in the day producing a show called Community. They were producers on a show called Community with Dan Harmon. Dan Harmon has now gone on to do Rick and Morty and things like that. The Russo brothers got into the Avengers. You might notice some characters from Community in the Avengers. For instance, in Winter Soldier, Abed or Danny Pudi plays one of the SHIELD agents near the very end. He goes to open a door and then he gets Brie Larson started off, well, she had some roles in Community as Abed's girlfriend before she became obviously Captain Marvel. The dean of the college in Captain America Civil War at the beginning. Is there going to be any funding for teachers? Ooh, I know, gross. That's the dean of the community college in Community. So you see like a lot of things where like these guys started also just as a thing to say chase your dreams. These guys were producing a show on NBC that ended up getting canceled. 6 seasons in a movie, and they also directed and produced, you know, like the end of the Infinity War saga. So, like, go after what you believe in; it can happen. With that in mind, I want to take it over to Debbie so we can get her thoughts on favorite overall moment in the MCU.
Ooh, favorite overall moment. Well, I would
you can mention a couple things. Sorry, you can get into it.
That's
but
all right.
Yeah.
I tend to go, although I love explosions and fights and all that, I tend to go for the funny stuff. So probably some of my favorite moments are between Thor and Loki. Just that
absolutely
brotherly button heads and, you know, get help.
We're not doing Get Help.
Yeah, Ragnarok was, I thought that one was hilarious. But there's like in Avengers, Hulk punching Thor, Hulk slamming Loki all over the place.
Puny God.
Yes, puny God. I mean, those things just make me crack up every time I watch him. Iron Man is probably one of my favorites because that whole film is there's just funny moments throughout.
You should just call him Tony Snark. I totally agree with you. Yeah,
I prefer Tony Stank. Thank you very much.
Tony Stank. That was another great one.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Stank.
Table by the bathroom, Mr. Stank.
Wonderful. One of the last cameos by Stan Lee in that I'm looking for a Mr. Stank. Yes, absolutely great. Debbie, continue.
Oh, that's okay. Anything with Bucky in it. I love Bucky. And really looking forward to the series. So,
The series Falcon and Winter Soldier.
yes. The lifting contest between all the Avengers trying to lift
Thor's hammer.
Thor's hammer in Age of Ultron. That was hilarious. Rocket's kleptomania problem.
That's very fun. I agree. Yeah. I mean, that comes up a lot too. That was a fun thing with Thor because he steals the eyeball and he gives it to Thor because Thor lost one. And then Thor just pops in his head. He's like, you might want to watch that first. I didn't tell you where I was keeping it. Like, it's just something like that. So I really like that you brought that up, the humor of the overall series, because it has been something. It's some people say it's a detraction. I think overall for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've nailed it. It fits perfectly for that. I think there are other times when they try, either Disney or someone who's not as, they try and use the same style of humor in a different, and it doesn't work as well. And they're like, why didn't that work? It worked perfectly. And it's like, because this is a comic book movie. And this is exactly the kind of thing that works perfectly in a comic book movie, but not in something that's more trying to be more realistic, or something that's not, because one of the things about comic books is, even if you don't have a character like Deadpool who can break through the fourth wall, a lot of it is aware that you're watching a comic book movie. Like when Tony Stark says, get out of here, Squidward, or whatever during Infinity War, it's like, that's a great line and it works. It wouldn't work as well in another movie.
Yeah, can I just say that I'm just so glad that throughout the MCU we haven't had any fart jokes. Because that's like the lowest.
Now everyone's
rung
trying
on
to
the
think
ladder
of
of humor.
There's been a couple of
well,
there
check
was
the comments.
yes, there was the one scene in Ragnarok where Hulk got out of the hot tub and Thor was like, "Oh, now I've seen it now and it's in my mind forever."
Oh yeah.
The male body part jokes, you did have those.
And see that would have never worked with anybody but Taika Waititi directing that. Any other director, and that would have just fell flat.
He does have a good instinct for that type of humor.
Yeah,
also,
definitely.
like when I was watching Thor Ragnarok, I was like, I like that they're giving this more depth to Thor, more everything. I was like, but when you watch it with the other Thor movies, it's almost like
it's like night and day.
Yeah.
And actually, someone put out, speaking of night and day, they put out, you can see like a timeline. They put the whole thing is one frame from the movie, and it's like this long, and so you can see like how bright the movie was. I'll have to look it up and see if I can put it up here, but Thor and Thor the Dark World were like almost dark the entire timeline across, and then Thor Ragnarok was like all these, because literally it was brighter, it was a lot of different things, even though emotionally a lot of that stuff was darker than what was going on in either of those other two movies.
Yeah.
He lost Asgard, he lost his father, his sister from Hela, by coincidence.
Lost the
hammer, boom, like right in the beginning. Which actually is a great thing that sets up a great moment for his part of his downfall, because part of Thor's, I guess, arrogance, even after the whole first Thor movie, was him trying to get over that. But part of the big thing in like Endgame and Infinity War was like his failure there, and then having to deal with that. And that's why he goes on this, like, he gets fat. You got fat Thor. He doesn't deal with it well. He's not coping with this in a healthy way. And so when he actually goes back in time and he's having that emotional breakdown, just about talking to his mom and everything like that, at the end, he reaches out and the hammer comes to him, and he is again just like, I'm still worthy, because he wasn't even quite sure still. But just even getting the hammer to come to him was kind of an affirmation to him, and that kind of like helped him realize, like, yes, I am still worthy. I can do this. And as to, well, anyway, what do you guys think? Or do we go on to the next person? Do we have anything to say else about the humor? Or Debbie, did you have you're looking forward to the Captain and Winter Soldier, or not Captain and Winter Soldier? I do this every time.
Oh, jeez. Here we go again. Someone start a drinking game.
Falcon. I'm dead.
You do this every time, Chris.
I do. So Falcon and Winter Soldier. By the end of that, somebody better darn well be Captain America.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be good. You know, I'm so glad they're bringing back Zemo. I'm excited to see the banter between Bucky and Sam. And I'm just excited to see Bucky in action again because we didn't really see him do much of anything across Infinity War and Endgame. Like basically all that we saw him do was shoot a gun a couple of times, and that's really it. We didn't get to see like the Winter Soldier come out, even though, you know, Shuri helped to, you know, get rid of his, you know, programming and all that stuff. You know, that's great and all, but Bucky is still, you know, on Captain America's level as far as, you know, power, speed, skills, all that kind of thing. And we just didn't see that.
He was made with a version of that super soldier serum. That was like part of the whole thing of Civil War, is that there was more of that that they could potentially give to other people. And you didn't get to see as much, except to see when he was going up against Captain America. I think when you see like, the first time they go up and he gets the shield thrown at him and he just catches it, that's kind of like that's not how that's supposed to work, you know? Like, this isn't. And also that's one of the things that, again, made a lot of people think that they were ramping up to have him take over. Just that, again, that first catching of the shield, even as the Winter Soldier, a lot of people were like, oh, that's a foreshadowing of he's going to take the shield once, you know, which, again, even me, I was like,
I was thinking,
maybe, yeah. I think it surprised a lot of people when old Cap handed it over to Falcon, although the point has been made, very good point. I'll acknowledge this, that the whole reason that Captain America himself was chosen to become captain was because he was a good man. So it's not necessarily about the guy who's already a super soldier serum, whatever. It's about who's the good man. And I think his arc, Falcon's arc throughout this whole thing, he's, you know, he's a guy who's already been to war, but he's also dealing with that PTSD and everything like that. I think he's a guy who understands the consequences of taking lives and defending lives and what it's worth. Like when is it necessary to take a life to save a life? And when is it necessary to jump on that grenade? What do you guys think about that? Before we get into David and Jonathan's, we're going to give you guys your time to talk about your favorite moment. What do you think about that for Falcon and Winter Soldier, about Falcon just being the good man? Do you think that's right, or do you think it should have gone to Winter Soldier? Everybody, just go.
I like the idea that it went to Falcon. I mean, if you go back to the comic books, both characters have taken on the mantle of Captain America at some point. Both Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Bucky, have been Captain America at some point. Giving it to Falcon, I think was a step in the right direction, because if you think about it really, really hard, Bucky is just like Cap is, and he's a man out of time. You know, he is someone who was put on ice like Cap, and he's now, what did he say, 100 years? We're 100 years old now.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, he doesn't look it, and he's got the super soldier serum, but he is, you know, he may be like Cap, to where he's just like, okay, I'm tired of this. I mean, he looked like he was calm and settled down in Wakanda, and then, you know, here comes T'Challa and says, hey, here's another arm. It's time to go back to war.
And a lot of, again, that's Winter Soldier right there. He signed up for war, again, for the right reasons in the beginning, but then he got taken and converted into this enemy soldier, mind-controlled assassin, did so many terrible things, and that's left him with mental scars, PTSD, all different kinds of stuff. And so maybe, like you said, he found peace in Wakanda. He's there. He's just like, fine. But at the same time, he recognizes, I have the ability to help. And that's Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. If you have the ability to help and you don't, then what are you? So he helps out when he needs to. But that's not to say that he even wanted to become the next Captain America. I think we're going to get into that kind of, hopefully, introspection on his character in this series. Because we, again, like people have mentioned, we have not seen a lot of actual Bucky Barnes other than just what his relationship was to Captain America. It'd be really great to see how he's dealing with that stuff, how he's dealing with his mind control stuff. Is he still susceptible to anything like that? Could someone walk up and say, like, 62 October or whatever, and he's going to freak out? Like, I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. John, do you have any thoughts on
that? Wow. I don't know how to follow any of that up, to be honest.
Fair. Cam, you were about to say something then? Did you have something?
Yeah. So sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off,
totally
Jonathan.
Fine.
That was my bad. But what I was going to say was you also kind of got to figure too, Captain America is just as much a symbol as he is a hero. But Bucky Barnes has already been identified by the worldwide, governments as the Winter Soldier. So you got to figure, how would the world react to the Winter Soldier who's, committed all these crimes, killed all these people, worked for Hydra? How would the world react to seeing him with the shield?
It's a really good point. Now again, he would ostensibly have a Captain America mask, but still, that's a really good point. Like, everyone, even though Captain America had a mask, if Captain America showed up, they're like, there's Steve Rogers, Captain America. Yeah, that's a good point. It would be really tough to get people to believe in, like, time traveling, for all they know, assassin, Winter Soldier. Oh, and he's working for us now. Don't worry about all the assassinations he committed for the communists. He was brainwashed. Well, is he brainwashed now for us? No. Okay. So hopefully, again, we're going to be delving into that stuff in the new series, but that's in the future. We're here to talk about our favorite moments from the series. And so far, we've gone through Debbie, we've gone through Cam. Jonathan, since it's your first time on the stream, I'm gonna throw it at you next. What do you got for us, my man?
Well, like David, I've been watching and all of the Marvel movies since the very beginning. I think for as far as iconic moments for me, I think it all goes back to the very first Iron Man. Just overall, just the level of care that was put into a somewhat popular character. The fact that they took essentially a C-list Marvel character and kicked off an entire cinematic universe with his origin story. It took a lot of guts, and they pulled it off incredibly well. And I mean, honestly, does it get much better than "I am Iron Man" at the very end? As far as iconic lines. So that for me, that's probably the most iconic. Just everything that kicked it all off.
Can I real quick on that? Absolutely. I was going to talk about that myself, and just to even build on it, that's what kicked it off, and that's how they ended it too. I am Iron Man. I am Iron Man. It ends how it began. That is also very integral to stuff like the hero's journey, which, since Joseph Campbell identified what it was, not made it up, he just identified what it was. And then George Lucas went to town with it with Star Wars, and then Hollywood realized this is actually how you tell stories. And so that method has been used. It's been used in Pixar, it's used in Disney, all over the place. The MCU is probably the longest version of it, and I one of the reasons I love it is because, again, like you said, it started with Iron Man, and you get that character arc of Iron Man, not just in one movie. You get a character arc in every movie for Iron Man, but also you get the 10-year arc of Iron Man. You get the 10-year arc of Captain America. You get the 10-year arc of Thor, and then the lesser arcs, but still there, of like Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk. You get all of that, and it's huge. And it started with Iron Man. That was basically proof of concept. And man, did they prove that concept. And what a stunning comeback for Robert Downey Jr., because that was really his comeback moment. Jon Favreau, Robert Downey Jr. just killing it. Jonathan, I'm going to let you continue. I did just break in a lot there.
No, you're good. No worries. And I know earlier Debbie had touched on a lot of the humor that's been, throughout all of the movies. Just the overall comedic touch that Taika Waititi had with Thor Ragnarok. We start off the movie, like you said, Chris. We start off the movie with Hela just destroying Mjolnir, and just with no effort whatsoever. And it was like it was the holy crap moment of that movie. And then we get into the humor. We get Korg. And we get Space Jeff Goldblum.
It's my birthday.
I don't know. Do you really describe him as anything other than Space Jeff Goldblum? Because he was just himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's just be honest. They just gave Jeff Goldblum the script and said, "Okay, just go." And I'm actually Space Jeff Goldblum. Turns out I am the lord of this area here, this planet here.
Just turned him into a puddle of goo. That's what a mess. You're Goldbluming. Anyway, yes. I mean, you wouldn't expect that. If you'd watched the first two Thor movies, you wouldn't be expecting a Space Jeff Goldblum. No one would have called that. And I think, again, that's a good point about, as far as the Thor movies go, they were considered some of the weaker films in the MCU. When we were talking about the first one and the second one, there were complaints. More about the second one, I think, just because, the first one was the introduction. We had a fun time with him. He was, he's interacting with humans. He doesn't get it. The second one was kind of like, what is the point? Like, what? And they're messing with Asgard and everything. The third one, and it was so dark, as opposed to, again, the humor that we see in so many of these movies. The only humor that we got in the Thor movies was like kind of some miscommunication stuff until we got to the third one. And then there's humor with Loki, which you don't even expect coming up to that because he's supposed to be an enemy, but they're having so much fun like that. And their brotherly duo really comes into play there. And it gives focus to the fact that, oh, right, these are 100,000-year-old. How old are they supposed to be in the MCU?
I think Thor is like 1,500 or 15,000 years old. For some reason, 15 comes to mind, but I
think he said in one of in either Infinity War or Endgame, he said, I'm 1,500 years old and I've killed twice as many men.
So something like that. But that kind of it seemed like in the first two movies they were playing them as brothers in the sense of like mortals, the way that mortals think of time. In the third one, it's like he gets that Loki is not trustworthy and like not someone to be trusted, but he also gets that it's his brother. And so there's that relationship of like he gets Loki's nature and knows how to like work with it. Although, to be fair, they had to start somewhere to build that relationship up. So anyway, I get the complaints about the first two Thor movies, and I get why Ragnarok had such a better reception. Although at some points I found the humor almost too much in that movie, to the point where it almost took away from some of the tension. But maybe there's not supposed to be tension because he's a god. Like in the very beginning when he's spinning around in a chain, and I'm just like, he keeps making jokes.
He's talking to the skeleton.
Yeah, he's talking to the skeleton, and then he comes down, and then he's spinning around, and there's that whole thing. I was like, that's a lot of jokes, really fast. And then it was part of his cockiness at that point. And then it kind of made sense as he started losing stuff. And then they're even making jokes about when he's choosing the weapon, and he talks about losing his weapon and his family and all that stuff to Korg, and he's talking to a rock. And I was like, man, this is metaphorical, because like he's talking to an emotionless rock that doesn't get it and like totally doesn't get the anguish he's going through, and he's not even expressing it properly. And then he meets a weirdly emotionally transitioned Hulk, which is just like throwing all kinds of wrenches. It's totally crazy. It's not a Thor movie. You know what I mean? If you look at the 3 Thor movies, the third one, like if you call that one a Thor, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I think they're so different.
I think it was.
Oh, go ahead, David.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say best unexpected cameo, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
I mean, that just came out of nowhere. I was just like, what in the world? And then it was just hilarious. So go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say the third Thor movie, that was a lot like the third Captain America movie. So you had the third Captain America movie where it was Civil War, and that was, and I'll touch on this when it's my turn. But yeah, that was the everybody together. But then you had Thor and you had Hulk missing from that movie, and it's like, well, where are these two guys at? Well, this is like, instead of Captain America Civil War, it should have been like Avengers 2.1, and then Thor Ragnarok should have been Avengers 2.3. So just moving it up the scale. I mean, you're still dealing with the Avengers, and you're still telling the story of all the Avengers. It just happens to have the singular character's title name to it.
Yeah, I think that as far as the Thor movies, I mean, I know that the humor doesn't necessarily work for a whole lot of people, but for me, it gives an otherwise kind of really basic story a good leg to stand on, because what we've seen this story before, where like, you know, the long lost sibling comes back, takes over, kills the parent, you know, stuff like that. But as far as the humor itself, you know, to be honest, it kind of worked for me. It was a really nice change from you know, the Shakespearean, you know, verily forsooth Thor that we saw in the first Avengers movie, and then Thor Dark World. I don't really want to talk about that movie.
That's fine, and that's understand. And I think that's why some people were even thinking like it hits you as like, this is too humorous. It's because like, oh, you've seen the first 2 Thor movies. Like, oh, okay, yeah. So you're not using. Yes, no, they were taking a different tact with this. Chris Hemsworth really got even more into it too, I think, you know, and it also helped set up really well, surprisingly well. Once I actually went back and looked at it again, Infinity War and Endgame, because then you see, I'm like, because when I'm watching Ragnarok, I'm like, your people are getting killed, everything's happening. Don't you even care? And then in like Infinity War, you do see him caring. And then in Endgame, you really see how much that tortured him. So I was like, that is a really good peak to take it to which to then bring you down and then back up with, you know, character development for Thor, which we actually hadn't had a lot of before that. You had character development in the first one, obviously, like not being so arrogant, but then the second one, it was just be Thor. And so like, what is there beyond that? And then it's like losing everything and coming back from that. And how do you come back from that? Really good, actually, I think. Now, I think David's the last one. Jonathan, were you done with what you had to say on?
I mean, I guess the only other thing that I kind of wanted to bring up, and which we haven't really talked about yet, was I'm a sucker for the Guardians of the Galaxy movies myself.
Excellent.
I just think that, you know, again, they kind of got lightning to strike twice, you know, with, you know, taking a character like Iron Man to kick off the MCU, taking a comic like Guardians of the Galaxy, which nobody had really.
It's like low tier. Nobody knows what that is.
Yeah, exactly. And then they turned it into such a critical property, to introduce really the true depth of what the Infinity Stones were capable of, and really set off the mission. It really kicked off, the Infinity War saga, and really put everything into focus, and how powerful these stones actually were. And then, and again, the humor in that, this is a dance off, bro,
The humor.
Favorite moment.
The humor in that is crazy. And again, that's an ensemble thing. It wasn't something like the Avengers where you had a team up of characters that we've seen before and we know. This was all new. They just have to do it, and we can see how troublesome that can be for some movies. Suicide Squad, for instance, tried to do an ensemble thing without having their characters introduced beforehand. And we know how well that went. It didn't go well. The trailer was awesome, but they used a Queen song. It's hard to, okay? It was bound to get that, and it's a great trailer. It is, but the movie itself, a mess. Now, when we talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, amazing. And also the fact that they were able to connect it to so many classic rock songs. They literally revitalized a bunch of those songs by putting them on that soundtrack and got people listening to these things that hadn't been listened to for a long time, other than the people that were, already fans of that. But there's no way some of those songs made it to the top of the charts again, just because of that movie. And then they did it again. They had a whole playlist for the second one and you don't have to be a fan of all those songs, but it's really hard to make a science fiction movie and also work in classic rock songs. Just take one of those Star Trek movies where they tried to play Sabotage or whatever. Now, when he was crashing the car, that was great.
Hey, no.
When they were killing all the fleet, whatever, with that song, that was a mess. And it was just what are you doing? In my opinion, again. So I think Guardians of the Galaxy did that way better, connected it way better.
And the whole concept for why the music is in the movie to begin with is because they were mixtapes that his mom made for him. That they found a way to make the music relevant and give it justification in the story.
Exactly. 100%. And you had the humor, and you had an amazing cast. You have Vin Diesel as Groot. Just saying, I am Groot. What? Everyone's just Vin Diesel's in this. What character is he playing? He's a tree. What's he doing? Oh, what's the other guy who plays Rocket?
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley
Cooper. Yeah. Oh, Bradley Cooper's in this. What's he doing? He plays the raccoon. Everyone's just what? All right, fine. Chris Pratt's in this. Oh, so he's playing. And remember, all anyone knew Chris Pratt from was Parks and Rec. Oh, Chris Pratt's in this. What's he playing? Oh, some fat bumbling guy. No, he's the action hero. What?
And then Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista comes out of left field and provides 90% of the humor just by carrying on the way he carries on. Nothing goes over my head. I would catch it.
It's amazing. And that was our introduction partially to Thanos in a way. We had people that knew him, at least Gamora. She was daughter of Thanos. And we had this guy mentioned over and over, oh man, they're really building this guy up, and he's not even the villain of this film. So yeah, I think who was saying that was the introduction to the Infinity Stones and everything. David, was that you? Anyway.
No, that was me.
No, I called
Jonathan, way to go. Well, I'm supposed to remember everything? Whatever. Anyway.
You're the host, right?
Whatever. Ostensibly. And as the host, I now take charge and say, David, what's your favorite bit from the MCU?
Favorite bit?
Favorite bunch, favorite?
I've got two, and I'm going to throw one out for everybody else to answer as kind of my honorable mention. My first was the airport scene in Civil War. Civil War is the Marvel movie that I can go back and watch just a dozen times. I mean, that one and Guardians, the first Guardians, is like, okay, we're going to sit down and watch a Marvel movie. Which one? It's either Civil War or the first Guardians, because it's probably my favorite. And the whole thing where, you introduce Spider-Man, which my son loves Spider-Man. That's like one of his favorites. So you introduce Spider-Man. You introduce a good Spider-Man. I mean, you had Andrew Garfield before this, and it was like, but now you've got a kid that actually looks like a teenager and can play the Spider-Man bit. You had Ant-Man going giant, and Spider-Man, and he says, "Oh, I might split myself in half." Is he going to tear himself in half? And then the whole, did you guys see that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
I love that.
How old is this kid?
That's mine.
So that one, and then God help me, at the very end of, not the very end of Endgame, but Endgame, when everybody's come through the portals and Cap straps his shield and says, and finally we get finally after 11 years, Avengers assemble, and it was there. I was like, I think honestly, I saw that movie like 4 or 5 times in the theater, and I think every time the first time I know I was crying, the second time I teared up really good, and the third and fourth and fifth time, I mean, even to this day, it's still, I get goosebumps and hair raises and everything else, just because it's so. I mean, you've watched the entire cinematic universe, you've watched umpteen thousand hours. Oh, he's looking for it. There it is. Oh, okay.
So I can show this. The reason I can show this is because it's from a music video that I made. It's on our YouTube channel again. Use the Beck song "Dreams." It's like an Iron Man, Scarlet Witch, and whatever tribute. But this is the point where the portals are opening and everything. And then,
everybody showed back up. It was just like, and then Giant Man busting out of it's all there.
And he grabs Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it's like, let's go.
That was it for me. The whole end sequence. Now, would I have liked to have seen a little more in this end sequence? Would I have liked to have seen Hulk come back and?
Yeah, there's very little Hulk. The only Hulk we actually see is in that first bit when he makes a punch.
Right.
And you barely even see it unless you're paying attention.
Would I like to have seen him come back and take some vengeance on Thanos? Heck yeah, I would have. But it is what it is, and it played out very well. Now, the one I have for everybody, and everybody needs to. What is everyone's favorite Stan Lee cameo throughout all the cinematic universes? All the movies? What is the favorite cameo? And I'll lead off. Mine was, and I didn't enjoy the movie, but it was the Captain Marvel cameo, where he's on the bus and he's reading the script for Mallrats. He's headed to Mallrats. That was great. And just because I liked Mallrats. So
yeah,
I enjoyed the Kevin Smith movies. So
me too.
Me three.
I love all of his cameos. I mean, that was probably, you're always looking for him in the movies. And it was kind of like, where's Dora? Or not, where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo?
Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, there you go. Where's Waldo? I mean, that was one of the fun things for these all these movies was, always looking to see where Stan Lee was going to pop up. And I think that's going to be greatly missed in any of the future shows or movies that they got coming on. So
people have made suggestions for who could take over that in the future. Some people said Deadpool, but Cam, I believe you have to leave.
I do.
So would you want to give us your favorite Stan Lee cameo that you could think of?
Yeah, sure. Just right away. My absolute favorite Stan Lee cameo is Tony Stank.
Tony Stank.
I don't know why, but just That's
it's
just the way
great.
he delivers the line, his mannerisms. You know what? When he's saying it, I don't know why, but that right there just like encapsulates Stan Lee for me.
It was also a really emotional moment between Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr. Their characters, even because it was after he had gotten his back broken and he's learning to walk with, like, obviously Tony is trying to make him something to heal him or fix him. So he's got these new leg braces for him and he falls and he's like trying to get up by himself. He's like, no, I got it. And that's when the delivery guy comes. And so it's like this really vulnerable moment from Don Cheadle. It's like Tony's feeling bad. Then it's like, I'm looking for Mr. Stank. It's good, man. It's absolutely wonderful. So, Cam, we're going to say goodbye to you now. Bye, Cam. We love you.
All right,
you can
guys.
check out more from Cam on Cam in Focus. It's his own YouTube series right on our YouTube channel. So just look Geek News Now YouTube and you'll
All
find
right.
it.
Everybody have a good night. It was great talking to y'all. And oh, I was going to lead into something else, but I guess that's it. Good night, guys.
Bye, Cam.
Night, Cam. Thanks for being here. Okay. Who hasn't said their favorite Stan Lee? I know I haven't, but who else hasn't?
I don't know. I think I got to give it to his cameo in Guardians 2, where we kind of sort of get confirmation that he might be one of the Watchers.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be it. If no one had said it, I was going to insist on that being an honorable mention. But yes, absolutely. Him being one of the, and that makes so much sense. If not just, if they hadn't just, they should make him just as one point, just like someone looking down on everything. Just like even us in the theater watching him on the screen, just like him looking down. Just like, I made it all. I think that would be funny. But absolutely, that's your favorite one, Guardians 2.
Yeah.
David, did you say your favorite yet? Should I go first, or did you want me to?
No, I did I not say mine?
I don't know. Wait,
Was the mall rats
oh,
Yeah.
that was
on the Captain Marvel?
I liked. I really liked in one of the Spider-Man movies when he was like, "Don't make me come down there, you punk." I thought that one was really great. And since we're, I guess, nearing the end here, do you think they're going to have someone else doing some sort of cameo from now on? Do you think it'll just end with his last cameo and then, or like, do you think there's going to be anyone else, or?
I don't see why they couldn't just stick them in there like on a billboard or on the cover of a magazine.
Oh,
or
that's true.
I think that's what,
or something like that.
I didn't even think of that.
isn't that what they did with in Deadpool 2? Because that movie was made after he passed, but I think I read somewhere, and I haven't really looked for it because I haven't watched the movie since then, since I read this, but that when they were all skydiving down, when X-Force was skydiving down, his picture was on a billboard, and that was his cameo in Deadpool 2.
Sounds absolutely possible.
I'd have to go back and watch it.
That was one of the things. It's unfortunate Cam's not here for this, but we've all. I don't think I mentioned some of my favorite parts, but you guys talked about them all. I mean, Iron Man starting it all off, Jon Favreau, Robert Downey Jr. just coming in with such charisma, and that was before Disney even owned it. I mean, they bought Marvel after that. Like that was again like the proof of concept. Like, whoa, we can do it. We'd had Spider-Man before that. From Sony, they did a really good job with that when you consider the other superhero movies at the time. That was the first like real shot at it. Then you had Nolan's Batman going at it, and Iron Man came out, I think, even before the last of the Nolan trilogy, because that last movie was like literally 8 years.
The Dark Knight Rises was 2012. I think the Dark Knight came out the same year that the first Iron Man came out. Was 08.
So you see, like. There you go. Obviously, DC wasn't on the same playing field because Disney and Marvel had been getting ready for this for so long. So you see, that's why they were able to do some of the stuff that they were able to do, and that's why the DC universe got so messed up, because they were trying to play catch up instead of taking the time to make their own established universe. But we'll see how all that's going to go forward, especially what with the R-rated 4-hour plus Snyder cut coming out in March. I'm excited for that. Before I don't want to go into that, but since we're talking about Marvel, one thing that Marvel you don't really talk about as much with the Marvel Cinematic Universe because they weren't owned by the same people. There's things like X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man to a certain level. These were all companies that were making their own films up until obviously the Disney buyout. Now Disney owns Fantastic Four. They own the X-Men. So one of the big tragedies, I think, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that you couldn't have things like the X-Men, that you didn't have anything like Wolverine being part of the Avengers and things like that, and that you'll never have some of these iconic actors who played these iconic parts working together, like Robert Downey Jr. and Hugh Jackman. Yeah. So like you're not going to have that. I think that's unfortunate, but as for hope going forward, now they do own these things. I'm hopeful that in the future, in my lifetime, I'll get to see like a big budget movie with the full Avengers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that at some point, either during Phase 4 or the eventual Phase 5, that we do get to see everything from Marvel come together. From all the properties that are now under the Disney banner. I think the potential is just incredible, and I don't know. I kind of hope that maybe we'll get some sort of confirmation of mutants with WandaVision, but I don't know. Maybe that's a pipe dream.
Shut up and take my money.
There it is.
Yep.
I want the mutants. I want like 80s. Yeah, all right, I'm just ready for it. The X-Men, that was another series that was happening alongside these other things. Now everything's getting to be under one hat. I think it would be cool. Again, though, you get into the problem of everything being necessarily related to each other. Like, oh, you have to watch every single X-Men thing to understand every single thing about. So you need to keep it distant enough that you can go do the separate things, but still having it related enough that, yes, it's still within the same world. But I think that's kind of the part of the point of Disney Plus is creating, and the next phase of the Marvel universe is again Multiverse of Madness. Jonathan, you were talking about hoping to see X-Men hints in WandaVision. We've been talking about that a lot in the live streams. Will we be seeing that? Is that something that's going to be introduced? When is it going to be introduced? One of the things we've or at least I've been saying, is I expect it to be more in the multiverse thing, but that this will probably be, I think this is what I said last episode, is that this will probably the ripple or the rock in the pond that kind of, which you could also say the multiple infinity snaps or whatever was the rock in the pond that led to WandaVision, that will lead to Multiverse of Madness, that will lead to Marvel Multiverse, so that they can tell stories outside of the MCU. Because as we know it, everything we've been talking about for the most part this entire episode was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this interconnected web of things. They've been making movies, essentially all up until now, movies that led to the Infinity, the Endgame. Now they're branching out into different shows, different things. I'm expecting Multiverse of Madness to really, really break it open. Jonathan, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I haven't talked to you about that before, but
I don't know. I mean, I'm along the ride. I'm glad that I know what the reaction to the most recent episode was a little mixed among certain fans, but I thought it was kind of great how we got to see the other side of what's going on the other side of the screens. I just love the fact that we got Darcy back, and then we got Agent Wu. And I don't know. I'm here for it.
Excelsior.
I think, like you said about WandaVision, and that's interesting that you would say. So from what you saw, you saw mixed reactions. I mostly saw people liking this episode more than they liked the other ones, at least from the perspective of the people that had been complaining about it being boring so far.
Right.
This matched up to their expectations, and again, this is something we've been talking about on our WandaVision live stream, is that the other episodes literally were modeled after a different type of television, of time period, of everything. And you can tell even by the way the letterbox to widescreen format, with how the viewer are seeing things, tells you that you're in a different place or experience a different thing. And that's why the latest episode was in that widescreen format, and everything else has been with the black bars on the side, like TV used to be with the tube TVs. And I think this went a long way to explaining things. And again, WandaVision is a miniseries. We haven't had a miniseries in the MCU so far. So again, this is something that we've talked about is that people aren't used to the story being this long. With this many episodes. They're used to sitting down and getting, oh, there's an Iron Man movie. I got a story. Here's another Iron Man movie. It might relate to that, but I've got a whole story in itself. When you've got a miniseries, you have to watch all the episodes before you know what that whole story is. And a lot of people are not used to that, because even with The Mandalorian, those episodes are kind of self-contained. You get a story in each episode. With WandaVision, you're very much getting hints to a larger story. It's not self-contained. It's you've got to tune every week and get the new pick up on the other hints. You know what I mean? So it's different than because again, The Mandalorian is based off of those old westerns or serials. You enter a new town, you have a new scenario, you have a story, and then it's over. WandaVision is a mini series.
Right.
Different thing.
Right. I don't know. I've enjoyed every episode so far. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought. I think
really happens.
The reaction to episode 4 has been mostly positive, but there are. I know I've seen it. There are some people who have said it's their least favorite episode because some of. Well, what am I saying? I saw somebody said it was that rather than letting us figure out the puzzle that they're trying to tell over the course of the series, it's almost like they spoon-fed us way too much information. It was basically I've seen that it's an exposition dump. That episode 4 was kind of okay. Here's all the pieces to the puzzle, and here's where each of them goes, rather than letting it build over time.
And I think part of that has to do with the miniseries format. It's a longer story being told over a longer period of time. If this was just a single sit down and watch movie, the episode 4 probably would have been interspersed with these previous episodes. You would have been seeing these things happen in real time, most likely, depending on the director and everything like that. But yes, episode 4 very much was literally an exposition dump. We talked about it just on Monday. We said it confirmed tons of theories, but at the same time, it left tons of stuff open.
Oh yeah, there's still plenty of mystery left.
So I think with that, people might complain that it's an exposition dump, but the eagle-eyed fans, the people that are there for every minute of the way, the people that are watching this knowing with the comics in mind, I think a lot of them are watching that with just already this knowledge burning in their heads, trying to confirm it to people, trying to let people know, this is what is happening. This is what is happening. And then it's like, so for the regular people, and so maybe also not all nerds or geeks or whatever go out going, you need to know this. They're just watching it too. So when you have an episode that comes out that is an exposition dump, some of those people might be like, duh, I've been saying this all along. I know. It's like, yeah, but how would we ever have confirmed it unless they actually show it? And it was a great way to introduce some of our characters that are on the outside. It really actually, again, mini-series format of the show. The fact that you had 3 episodes purely on the inside and then an episode outside creates a barrier between those things, much like the actual barrier in the show that's between the inside reality, the outside reality. So again, it's that much of a barrier, literally, that it's even affecting how we see the show. I think they're doing a great job. I'm excited to see how it ends. Most of the complaints, again, if you're complaining after the first episode and it's a mini series, you haven't seen the whole thing. You cannot. That's like you watched the first 10 minutes of a movie, declared it crap. You didn't watch any of the rest of the movie. Why would you do that? Who does that?
Or like watching The Last Jedi and not liking the Canto Bite scene, so the whole movie's garbage because of Canto Bite. I've seen fans like that. I didn't like the Canto Bite scene, so that movie was crap. And it's like, well, one scene doesn't ruin a movie.
I hate to bring up The Last Jedi, ever. Let alone in the middle of an MCU discussion. But
hey.
Disney umbrella.
About that next week, right?
What? Yes, the future of Star Wars. I was gonna say, I unless anyone else has anything to say or bring up or anything they want to talk about, any like thing we missed, anything you just like. Anything you're excited for? We haven't talked about anything.
Well, I'm excited for the next Doctor Strange movie. The first one, in my opinion, was so visually stunning. I mean, I've watched it I don't know how many times, and each time I'm just like so mesmerized as to everything that's going on, the way they got the buildings going and whatnot, and perfect casting for Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, when I first heard he was cast, I had my doubts, but I mean, it was perfect.
Them casting him when they announced this movie, and the first thing I thought was them casting him would be like them, or them not casting him would be like them not casting Patrick Stewart as Professor X in that first X-Men movie. I mean, that first X-Men movie was announced, and you're like, it's got to be Stewart. That's the only person who's going to fit that role. So here you've got Doctor Strange, and it's like, it's got to be Benedict. He's the only person that's going to fit that role.
Yeah, this whole scene that's going on here, I mean, that was such a psychedelic trip.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. But like I said, I love this movie because it's just so visually stunning. I love it to death. And of course, I love Benedict, so. But I'm really excited to see what they do with the second movie.
As am I, especially since it's called the Multiverse of Madness, and when it comes to the fact that they are now in control of so many things, and you have to wonder, how are you suddenly going to bring in Fantastic Four and X-Men and all this different stuff into this connected universe? Oh, one of the first things you have coming up is a multiverse of madness. Which again, Wanda is slated to be in. Scarlet Witch, aka a chick who's looking like she's being more and more villainous, justified or not, grief or not, whatever the case may be. She has reality bending powers. She's becoming a possible threat, and an upcoming movie. And of course, if you know anything about the comics and everything like that, she is a mutant, and she has Omega level powers, and she has And then Doctor Strange is coming up with Multiverse of Madness, which is one of the first, if not the first movie other than Black Widow, that's actually coming out. Everything else is a mini series or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, the Eternals! Don't forget the Eternals. That's coming out too.
Holy butts!
That's the
Totally forgot about the Eternals.
well, and see that it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody does because everybody's like, okay, we don't know anything about the Eternals other than Angelina Jolie's going to be in it. I mean, unless you're like a serious hardcore. I've been reading the comic books, with since day one. I know what the Eternals are. I've been a subscriber to them. Whatever. You're doing what they did with Guardians, to where you're taking a team that nobody's really heard of, and we're gonna try and put them out there because we need to tie them in somehow. So, but I think that one's due out in July.
Everything
I think.
got changed.
Yeah.
But it might be, because like things are going to be jam packed.
Get Black Widow first.
Yeah.
And Black Widow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm
And
tired
we'll
of all the
see.
delays. Just put them out on streaming.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons that HBO Max did that with the entire slate of WB films, is because they need to get that streaming competitiveness. Disney Plus was up and running before the pandemic hit. Then all of a sudden, no one can go out to theaters. Their subscribers went up, even regardless of the fact that people were excited for The Mandalorian. So now other places like HBO Max they're trying to play catch up, and that's why they're releasing their slate on their streaming service, but only for 30 days when it comes out. So, and they're still staggered releases, so they're trying to make sure that they don't just get people subscribing for 1 month, watch all the movies, and then leave. They're making sure you stay subscribed, which is actually a similar strategy what Disney Plus has. What with their miniseries coming out over a couple of months, that's why they have them come out staggered, so you have to stay subscribed. So
Just pay for the year. Do one payment. Pay for the whole year. Get everything. Quit. Don't pay month to month. That's just silly.
They've got it for 4 years. I did it was basically buy 2 years, get the third year free, and then with my cell phone service, I got a year free. They've got me hooked for a while now.
and that's money that they get. Boom. If you pay up front for that, yes, you do get that service, but they also get that money right there that time. So that's why you have cheaper prices for things. It's it's economics. It's that's America. This is America. Anyway,
America.
I liked this comment. I like what you're attempting to build here with the channel, and I'm on board. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. I want to thank everyone that was here tonight, including all of the wonderful panelists, Debbie, David, and Jonathan. Debbie, of course, working for the social media team, putting great stuff out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I guess, all the great social media apps. I don't know. I'm on the YouTube, so I do the YouTube stuff. David down there, he's putting out articles, wonderful art. He's now head of the Literary Legion. Are you not? You're the
Yes.
He's that's a Tuscan Raider cheer for you. So, wow! And there's a R2D2 screen for celebration. So you can check out his articles on geeknewsnow.net. And of course, Jonathan, thank you for joining us. This is, I believe, first time you've been on Geek News Now Live.
It is, yeah.
And you are one of the co-hosts of Captain's Logs and Lightsabers, a fantastic new podcast that we've got going out on GNN. You can check it out on our Podbean. All the affiliated podcasts are there. As always, just search Geek News Now. You'll find us. And we thank you all for being here. That was it. I'm Chris, and this was an MCU chat. I'm calling it. This is the end of the broadcast.
Good night.